Hey TSY youth, how you guys doing? Hope you're enjoying your snow day today. I gotta be honest, as I woke up this morning and looked outside and saw all the snow, I was super bummed because it meant I wasn't gonna get to hang out with you guys. I know all the leaders are bummed because we don't get to hang out with you guys tonight. And so I just want to take a couple moments to just communicate an encouraging thought to you guys anyway, since it's been a couple weeks since we've been together because of this snow. And so I just want to communicate just an encouraging thought to you tonight, because starting next Wednesday, we are going to be engaging on this year-long theme of fight to the finish. And we have a bunch of series lined up between now and December that are going to help us communicate what it means to fight to the finish. We have gear, we're calling it our fight gear, that's at the Fight Center in the Salvage Yard. It's all of our merch, clothes that you can buy, hoodies that you can buy in order to help get this message out of what it means to fight to the finish. And so today, just for a couple minutes, I just want to talk about just that first word, fight, and just bring to our attention that we really are in a fight. That when we commit to faith in Jesus, when we make Jesus the leader of our lives, we instantly engage in this fight, waging war on behalf of our souls for our destiny. And before we can fully talk about what it means to fight to the finish, I want to just talk shortly and briefly to you about what it means to start strong in the fight. Because the reality is, if we don't start strong, we're going to have a really hard time fighting to the finish this year. And so I just want to give you a quick thought of how to start strong in 2017 as we engage on this journey of fight to the finish. And it's simply this. And if you're taking notes or you have a pen and paper or something to write down on, I want you to write this thought down. That committing to small victories sets us up for impossible victories. Committing to small victories sets us up for impossible victories. What do I mean by that? I simply mean this. That committing to small wins sets us up for the big win. I think so oftentimes we fail at goals or we fail at big wins because we dream too high without a plan. And what we really needed to do was take a step back and say, what can I do right now that sets me up for the big win? And that oftentimes throws us out of the race before we even really get started in this fight. And so I want to read a quick passage to you, just out of Joshua chapter 2. This is verses 23 and 24. And just a little bit of background. The nation of Israel is moving into the promised land, and Joshua is now the leader. He has taken over from Moses, and he is leading the entire nation of Israel into the promised land across the Jordan River. But before they do that, Joshua does something similar to what Moses had done, and Joshua sends 2 spies into the promised land to go search out a city by the name of Jericho. What's significant about this is that Moses, 40 years prior, had sent 12 spies to search out the entire promised land for 40 days. And when they came back, if you go back and read in Numbers 13 and 14, it's a crazy story. You should go read it. 10 of the 12 spies give a negative report, and it puts the entire nation into a huge uproar. They ultimately end up being disobedient towards God. God's punishment for them is to wander the wilderness for 40 years. And so here we are 40 years later. They've come to the end of their wandering, and Joshua does something significant that I want us to grab a hold of. It says, if you back up a couple verses, that he sent 2 spies to check out one city. He sent 2 spies to check out one city. And upon them coming back, I want you to hear what their report was to the nation of Israel. They said this: "Then the 2 men returned. They came down from the hills and passed over and came to Joshua the son of Nun, and they told him all that had happened to them. And they said to Joshua, 'Truly the Lord has given all the land into our hands, and also all the inhabitants of the land melt away because of us.'" How on earth would those 2 spies know that they could take over the entire promised land? Something impossible. How would they know they could have taken that away by only seeing one city? I believe there's a principle that Joshua understood that if you and I can grab a hold of, there's going to be some really cool things you and I are going to see finished this year in our lives as it pertains to our destiny as we fight for our faith. And I believe it was this: Joshua understood that if he could send 2 spies to one city and he could get them to capture what it meant to fight for a small victory, then they in and of themselves would then gain the faith, gain the courage, and gain the strength to then go and conquer all of the promised land. It started with a small win at Jericho that ultimately allowed them to take over the promised land. In the same way, I believe God is calling you and I to start 2017 by not asking what big thing does God want us to tackle this year, but what small step of faith can you and I begin to take right now that would move us to one day conquering that big hurdle, that big obstacle, that big difficulty, that big hardship, whatever that big thing is in your life that is supposed to be uprooted. Instead of thinking, how can I conquer that thing today? I think a better question would be for us to learn from Joshua, and that would be, what small step of faith can I take right now? What small step of faith can I take right now so that one day God can help me conquer that one thing that stands between me and my destiny? Young person, I want you to just consider this question and be ready to answer this by next Wednesday. Is, what does God want you to fight to the finish for in 2017? What big thing is He asking you to fight for? And secondly, what small step of faith can you begin to take today to allow God to help you fight to the finish to whatever that thing may be? I love you guys so much. I'm missing you today. Alyssa and I both miss you, and we seriously cannot wait to see you next Wednesday as we kick off our year-long theme, Fight to the Finish. Have an amazing day.